We're going to create this simple HTML and PHP application form and connect it with a MySQL database, all online. So it's going to look something like this. I have some records here. These are actually records in the database. We can add stuff, so test, category, test, submit. It will send it to a page called add. I can go back to the index, and there is my element or my record, my new record that I inserted. I can also delete. So if I click delete, it will send it to the item ID to a delete page, and then it will be gone. Looks simple, but it's slightly complicated. So let's have a look at the database. Log into your ideate or navigate to ideate.ddns.net/ my PHP my capital M admin capital A phpMyAdmin. You will, I'll just log out. You will come to a page that looks like this. The username is student and the password is on screen. Click go. Here is the database interface. So just quickly, this is what we have to do. We're going to go to computing. These are the list of the databases here. This is empty at the moment. This is ready for our other application project. But here is going to be our practice stuff in here. So I'm just going to open up this and see that there is only one table. So this is the database and this is a table. If I click on this table, it will load all the records. So this is a record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 records here. We have an item ID, a name, a description, and a category. They're all attributes. If I click on the structure up here, you can see that item ID is an integer of 11 characters. It's also auto increment, so you don't have to put anything in that field when you add records. It just auto adds a number to from the last. Our name is a varchar of 100 characters. Our description is just plain text with no limit on how many characters or the length of the text. The category is a varchar and it has a 50 character length. So we're going to make this from scratch again, just so you can see how it works, because this is what you're going to have to do. From here, we click on new. And we create a table name. Table name is going to be your name underscore items. Remember, never use spaces. Always have underscores if you need to have a space. Otherwise, if you have no spaces, use a capital letter for the next word. I like underscores because I can read it easier. So your name underscore items. Make sure that you name this correctly, or you know what you've named it, because we have to use this in our PHP code. The first thing is going to be item ID. Second thing is going to be name of your item. Next thing is going to be description. And what was the last thing? Category. Now we're going to change the types, or the variable types. First one is going to be an integer. That's fine, because we're just going to have those item IDs as numbers. Name is going to be a varchar with a length of 100 characters. Description is going to be text, because that might be longer than that. We just want it open. Category is also going to be 50, because categories shouldn't be that too long. Now we're going to scroll over to here along the first item ID row or column, and we're going to checkbox AI, which means auto increment. Check, and this box will pop up, and this is the system assuming that you're going to use this as a primary key, which means these are going to be unique, and there's never going to be one the same, a record the same with the same item ID number. They're always going to be different. So once you've done that, we just click save. And here appears your table. And if you click on it, it should come up empty because we haven't got anything in it at the moment. That's the first stage. If you want to insert some temporary data, we can use phpMyAdmin by clicking on Insert. We can go name, item might be my laptop, description is it's a computer thing, and category is tech. Notice I don't put anything in here under the item ID because that is an auto number. I can go ahead and put another record in, but I'm just going to go and put in one. Now this all might look very technical, but this is actually SQL. You're going to use this in your PHP. So just take note of it, and you can have a read of it if you like it. I'll explain it later. But once that SQL has been written, you can go back to either browse or just click on your table again. And you'll see you have one record in here. Let's insert another one. I have a car. It's for getting to work and other places, and it is transport. I click OK or go. My SQL appears again, and I can click on browse, and I should now have two records. So obviously this is an administration sort of back-end place to do this database editing. What happens when you want to do or let your users use stuff in terms of input and output or deleting records and adding records? You can't give general users this sort of access to your database because they can do all sorts of stuff and muck around with it. So this is where we come back to this. The interface is what you intend your users to have access to. We are going to now go over to, I'm going to show you some of the files that you're going to need to create. So on your server, in your server folders, you're going to need 4 files. One is going to be the index, one is going to be delete, one is going to be add, and one is going to be database or DB. This is the most important, the connection to the database. Luckily, all these files are pretty small, so it's not going to take you very long to get this up and running. The first thing we're going to start with is the index. And basically, you just need to copy this down, which I'll provide a screenshot. I'll explain it though. We have a form here. This form, when you submit the form, it passes 2 variables, the name and the category, to add.php. So those 2 variables get passed. And then we come down to here, we include that DB file, which is this. So it'd be the same as me copying this text and pasting it right here. But I like to keep things clean and easy to edit, so we have it in one place here. Then we come across here is the SQL. Now remember from here, everything works actually on SQL, and this is just an interface to make it easier so you don't have to remember the SQL statements. But when you're working with PHP, you need to be able to write those SQL statements. They're like filters almost. So to view all the records, you select all. This stands for all. The symbol on the number 8, if you hold shift and hit 8 on the keyboard, select all from your name items, which is the table name. So if I select everything, that's selecting all these records. If I was selecting all from my original table, same statement, select all from Tom's items, that selects all these records and outputs them to the screen. So here we are selecting all from, not Tom's items this time, let's go your name items. And then we send that SQL statement to the database engine query thing. So we sort of execute this statement. And we put all those rows or results into a variable called results. Then we loop through while. You don't have to really understand how it technically works, but we're basically looping through all those records or rows or results that we got from our query. While there are records, start from the first one, we're just going to echo some HTML. We're going to start a new paragraph. We're going to echo out ID text, and then we're going to echo out the first item from our table. So that is item ID, row, from our first row, item ID, and then we're going to also echo out our name. So they are item ID, they're the column or the attribute names, item ID and the name. We could also do description and the category, but we're just keeping it simple. Item ID and the name. Then we're creating a link, a href link, and that href link points to delete, which is also over here. And we're passing in the query string an ID of the same of this ID. So we would be passing number 1 or number 2. And then that's text for that appears as the delete button, and then we end the paragraph. If this doesn't work, we will echo out an SQL error, and then we can track back and see what's going on. So I might break this on purpose. And come over here and refresh, and I get an SQL error. The form's still there because the form is at the top of our body, and then we do our PHP stuff down here, but we got an SQL error. So I'm going to go back, and this should output those 2 items in the database. Refresh, and there they are, 2 items, laptop and a car. Laptop and a car. So that's the first stage I want everyone to get up to, and I'll probably provide separate videos for these 3 and how they work. But in the meantime, just get this first page index working and connecting to the database, and also the important part, which is actually setting up your database, your column names, your attribute names, and your actual name, the name of your table under the computing database.